All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone, to the NNP Symposium at Central States. This is the third year that we have done this. So we have people here in Schaumburg watching, and we also have people online watching through a Zoom live stream. I do want to clear one thing up that I heard a little confusion about. In the Central States program, for those of you here in person, the schedule is printed correctly on pages 14 and 15, but the schedule mixed in with the other events on pages 16, 17, and 20, half of the talk times are off by half an hour, which is why we're here at 1:30 and not 1, like that page said we were. So just something to be aware of if you're referencing the program. 14 and 15, that's the right schedule for our talks. So that's all for that. Thank you all for coming. We're going to go ahead and get started. We have Jeff Garrett here, the senior editor of the Red Book and a rare coin dealer from Lexington, Kentucky, as I'm sure we're all aware, talking about the great Kentucky hoard of U.S. gold. We will have a Q&A at the end. If you're online, you'll be able to send in questions over text. If you're in the room, obviously, you'll be able to participate by raising your hand. So I will let Jeff take it away.
Thank you. And Leanna, first I'd like to say wonderful it is that the Newman, I guess the Newman organization or the foundation helps create things like this so that not only people in the room can see this, but people can see it later or on the streaming, and it's kind of preserved. So for me, it's wonderful that I get to do something like this, but it's going to be out there for a long time for people who are not necessarily here. And numismatic education is a lot different than it used to be. There's so many great tools and so many ways you can learn about the hobby. And it's just awesome that we have a foundation that's put so much effort into presenting stuff like this. So with that, I want to start this off, make sure I get the arrows right. There it is. This all started with an email and a phone call. So I've been around in coins, buying and selling coins for almost 50 years now, 45 to 50 years. So I've been doing it a long, long time. I'm really well known for, U.S. gold coins. I wrote a book, Encyclopedia of United States Gold Coins. So I also, edit a red book that kind of, it's out there. So I get a lot of inquiries. So anybody that's a professional dealer can appreciate a little bit, but I think I get a little bit more than a lot of others. So when I go to work every day, I usually get to work around 8:30, something like that. And my first chore is I get a cup of coffee and I go through my emails because it takes us usually 40 or 50 of them, and maybe 100 of them sometimes if you include the junk ones. But I kind of whittle them down, and it's kind of like going through and seeing what's worth. And these days too, it's kind of funny the way the world live in now. You can't just ignore people or just like with the way that we have this feedback situation in America. Like if some collector sends you something and you just don't answer it or whatever, you can end up with a bad Google review, and Mr. Google will be bad on your business. So you really need to. I try to answer as many as I can, as nicely as I can, as gently as I can. Usually the dream crusher thing, your 1976 quarter is not worth $20,000. Sorry, it's whatever you saw on the internet. So that's generally kind of mostly what I find. Occasionally you'll get something interesting. It'll, we set up for an appointment. Usually within the first couple sentences, I can tell like, okay, I want to work, spend real time on this, like an estate or, collection. And then I'll refer that, or I have a person that works for me that does most of the buying across the counter. So I will forward him any the ones that seem to be just like, I want to bring, collection I got in, to see what it's worth. So I was going through this is like any typical day. So I'm going through my emails, and I go through the email, and there's a fuzzy picture and not that picture, because that was not fuzzy. So there was a fuzzy picture of an 1863 double eagle, and somebody wanted to make an appointment to bring it in to see what it was worth. So 1863 double eagle, just so you know, is a very scarce coin. It's much scarcer than an 1863 S, for instance. So my first thing when I saw the picture, I think, well, it must have an S. So I'm kind of looking at it, and I'm like, no, even though it's fuzzy, it doesn't have an S on it. So because an 1863 is worth $10,000 in extra fine condition, and a 63S is worth probably at the time when gold was cheaper around $2,000 or $2,500. So much difference in value. So I recognize it's a good coin. So I need to see this person. So I don't think he gave me his phone number. So I emailed him back. I said, I'd be happy to meet with you. I'd love to see your coin. This is my cell number. You can call me on my cell. So a day or two goes by and I get a call on my cell and the person says he'd like to bring it in, but he works Monday through Friday and he can only get there on Saturday. Well, my office is open Monday through Friday and I don't usually see people on Saturday because first of all, there's nobody there. And that's a little bit scary, but because, I don't like to be there by myself when I'm meeting, somebody I don't know. And I like to play golf on Saturday. So that's another issue. So gotta factor that in. So, but I said, I need to see this 1863-20. So I'll take a chance. And I told my wife, it was funny. I remember telling my wife, I said, I'm meeting somebody on Saturday at 1:00. So keep it on your phone. If there's something scary, I'll let you know, or if it's something weird. But anybody that it's in the business, you can usually tell from the tone of a voice and, if someone's genuine or if it's like, something that's kind of weird, but it was nothing but that. It was all kind of like, hey, this guy's okay person. So it's on a Saturday. So I just said, okay, I'll meet you there. Set it up for the following Saturday. I get in the office about 1:00 and I'm messing around, and then finally the doorbell buzzes. And a gentleman's there, and he's got like a little briefcase that had to have got inherited from his grandfather. I mean, it's like a little tiny little brown bag that looks like it was 50 years old. Little satchel. It's not that deep, really small thing. And kind of thought, well, if he's got just one coin, why has he got a briefcase with him? So that was a little bit first kind of clue. Something was a little bit different. So we had I brought him in, and it was kind of like an interesting sequence of events where he's kind of feeling me out and I'm kind of like feeling him out, but I'm just really ready to see the 1863-20. So he's talking, chit-chatting, about this and that. So I think after a little bit, he felt comfortable that, because he knew nothing about coins, zero about coins. He knew a little bit because he'd been on the internet for 3 or 4 days, doing everything he could to search about coins because of what happened. But he didn't, previous to 4 or 5 days earlier, he knew nothing about the hobby or coins. So I think after he was with me after about 15 or 20 minutes of conversation, he said, I think I'm in the right place to do what I'm about to do. So he opens with the briefcase, and he hands me 3 1863-20s, and they're not XF. They are mint condition. And I about fell out of my chair. It's like thing. So that's a pretty crazy, insane, really insane, because a mint state coin is worth $100,000 or more. So we'll talk about that more a little bit later. So I immediately this, and I would so these are super valuable, so I was, it's kind of like anybody's in business would know, it's kind of like all of a sudden I was happy for the guy, but I immediately started thinking about myself, and I'm like, okay, I got to buy these coins. How am I going to get these coins? So it's like, I don't want to make sure Heritage doesn't auction them next year. So I'm in immediate acquisition mode. So we're, what can I do to close the deal or whatever? So he starts. So then it's kind of like the slow reveal comes out. And then I don't know exactly how it kind of went from like one conversation to the next. And he told me this and whatever, but eventually, after about 15 minutes of conversation, he revealed that he had been in a cornfield in Kentucky and undisclosed location, and he had discovered 800 plus United States gold coins. And the latest date coin was 1863. So the coins were obviously buried in 1863. So that's when I was, the first 3 coins blew me away. So I guess it softened me up a little bit. But then when I heard there were 800 gold coins, and then he did another reveal, there weren't 3 1863-20s, there were 18 1863-20s. So almost a roll, we would call it in the hobby. So that is mind-boggling when you think about it. So, and this is a coin previously, I think there's only 1 or 2 known in mint condition. So it's really, 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 really rare coin, especially later. I'll tell you some of the conditions that some of them were. So he explained to me, it's sort of like, we tried to a lot of the things, keeping confidential about it. But basically, there was activity in a cornfield. Something got revealed in the dirt, and kind of like, okay, this is what kind of reveals what all these coins are. And I do want to show you. Now we kind of have a slide, but it also is a slide in the video that's in the same slide then. So we'll see it when the next one we do, it'll come up.
Yes, so it won't play the video at first. It'll go to the slide, and then the next time you hit the space bar, it'll play the video.
Okay, so that's good. Okay, so we'll see. Well, there's a picture. He had his iPhone with him when he found the coins. So this is really, really great. It'd be like Carter having the iPhone when he found King Tut. If it would have been nice, but he had his iPhone with him when he found these coins. So this is really cool. This is a picture of the coins on the ground in the dirt. You can see they're like totally in situ. I guess they say it, and then like they're like laying in the dirt. That's how they look like when they were found. So really crazy. And this next clip I'll show you is, I think I've shown this a lot of people, one of the I don't know, the funnest things, the most incredible things I think in the history of coin collecting. I've been doing it for 50 years. This is the coolest thing I've ever seen. So here's his video when he found them. Now we can't play the audio because he's saying, oh, there's a lot of cursing going on. I wish I could, but look is that amazing?
So, Jeff, was there a bag or?
Well, I'll tell you about that.
Okay.
I'll tell you about that in a little bit. So there they are. Like, here's the video of him finding the coins in the dirt. So to me, that is just one of the coolest things of all time. It's so neat that it was saved for posterity. And if anybody wants to hear the unedited version, show me out, and I'll play the unedited version. So it's pretty funny, and he has a big sense of enthusiasm when he's finding them. So it's pretty crazy. And what's interesting enough, as crazy as that is, that's just a discovery. He's seeing like a dozen coins or so, or 24 coins. Eventually, when he obviously clears out everything within, I don't know, probably 50 yards, there was 800 gold coins. So he was just kind of chipping away at the tip of the iceberg, as you could say. So that's just a tiny little bit of the coins. Let me see. Can you back it up? So I'll play it again just so you can see it.
That was during the beginning of the Civil War era.
Yeah, near the end.
The banker or somebody like that entity probably buried them.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that.
Right.
We'll do some speculation, but anyway, so that's the fun video that's to me makes one of the coolest things ever. And so let me see what I got next on the thing. So when I'll explain. I'll back up a little bit. So he kind of revealed what it was. Then all of a sudden, my appointment was going to be, I was going to be there a long time talking to him. So this is going to be a while. So he was really a very smart person. I kind of understood what he had basically discovered. He'd done some research already, knew these were rare coins, and he wanted to, but he was pretty it became pretty apparent. The reason he was there is he wanted to, he won the lottery and he wanted to find out where to cash his lottery ticket. So that was what was going on. So, so we talked, and, I explained to him that, you came to the right place. You're unbelievable. This was found in Kentucky. I mean, what's the chances of that? State I live in. You didn't go to a pawn shop. Some guy didn't just totally mess the deal up because it's complicated, and I'll explain that more. And he came to a person who knows how to handle things like this. I have a lot of experience with rare coins, also with hoards. I've done a lot of hoard deals before, and also big collections, because things like this need marketing and a lot of that kind of stuff. So after a conversation a while, he was comfortable. He was there. Pretty much I made him an offer what I would do to, how to handle it. I said, here's what you got to do. We have to have the coins have to be conserved properly, expertly. They'll need to be holdered by a third-party grading company. Well, that'll need to be done. Then we'll need to research on it, because when he first brought the coins there, and actually that day too, he only had about probably 50 coins with him. He didn't bring all 800 coins because he didn't know exactly how it was going to play out with meeting with me. But until NGC did their conservation on it, we didn't even know what the date and mid marks on the coins were, because most of them were covered in dirt. So they were just completely covered in dirt. So it was a total mystery until they got done. So I explained that whole process with him. Also explained to them that it would be good when we market them. I'll probably we'll make up a name for it, the Great Kentucky Gold Hoard. So that's what we came up with eventually. We'll design a label for it, which you can see when you can see the coins. I brought with me 7 or 8 coins with me, no, 11 coins with me. Make sure I get that count right. 11. It's 11 of them. So I made a label on it. It looks really, really nice, and it ended up being, good for marketing coins. And then I made him a proposal, and we did a handshake. We did the deal on a handshake. We never put it in writing, and I knew he would trust it. I trusted him, he trusted me. So it was a nice informal deal. And because sometimes things like this can get messy because, there's other relatives or whatever, got to really be, dot your I's and cross your T's. But that being said, the next immediate thing I did with him before he even left, we started making some phone calls. I realized that this deal has big legal implications. It's like, you've got to have title. The company I was going to sell them to had made sure they had to have, a legal title to own them, where they were found, all that kind of stuff. So I put him in contact with Armin Vardian, Armin Vardian is like the attorney for coins. He's been doing coin legal work for probably 30 or 40, 50 years, as long as I have doing coins. So he's the guy, he's the go-to guy for legal stuff. And he understands the hobby. So he's done a lot of even like treasures and shipwrecks and stuff like that. So he understands the maritime law and all that stuff. So, and then also I wanted to be really careful about who I talked to, how I was agreed to talk to. I didn't even know how it was going to develop till the next stage. I'll explain to you, but I knew there would be some inquiries, but I had no idea what was to come. But I didn't want to be the guy who somehow, my job was to sell the coins, but also to make sure he got to keep the money. So that was a big part of it. So they got great legal advice, and we decided kind of how to strategically present the deal. We kind of did from the big reveal to the world. We let everything go through NGC, and they handled all the publicity, all of the press releases, and all that, because I wanted to be a neutral third party that, instead of someone calling me up and say all the things they would ask, I'd refer them to NGC and let them handle that, because they knew they had their attorney work with Armin to know what they could answer and what they couldn't. And I might say something, because I'm so excited about it, I might say something I shouldn't say. So it was a big responsibility, because ultimately it was all said and done. This deal is like a $3 million worth of coins. So it's a lot of value involved. So so to get to this point, what we did is the next step we did, he kind of understood kind of what I was talking about, all made sense. Sounds like a good plan. We made an appointment for about 2 weeks later. He came up from where he was, where he lived, came to Lexington, and he and his wife, we flew in the little brown briefcase that he brought with him the first time. They all fit in, and also just interestingly enough, back up just a little bit of, I said 800 gold coins. As you can see, the big majority of them are gold dollars. Really strange deal. It's there were probably about 25 or 30 double eagles, just a handful of 10, like 4 or 5 or 6 $10 gold pieces. And then there were some silver coins, which we'll talk about a little bit more, but a lot of gold dollars, like 600 or 700 of them of gold dollars. So kind of it did fit in that little briefcase. It's not that hard to do. So he met me in Lexington, and then I got extra insurance for the trip, make sure we were all covered on that. And we flew down from Lexington to Sarasota. So Sarasota, NGC was super excited about the deal. That's one of the things I actually, going back it up a little bit, I offered part of my services is I got him a really deeply discounted rate for all this. Actually, NGC conserved the deal for free for the guy, and also graded the coins for a much less price than they normally would, because they knew it was going to be a very highly publicized event. It would make national news, international news, and they agreed to do it for very, I saved them almost $100,000 in grading fees and associated fees by negotiating that they knew they would be wanting to do this deal. So we flew it down to NGC, and I told when I got there, those guys, I said, before you do anything, with this deal. I want a picture of it. And so we did, in its entirety. So we got the coins, much dirt as we could off of them. We staged this picture, and I've got probably 25 different versions of this picture, but this is a great representation of what it looked like on a table all at one time, just kind of laid out. So it's just, you guys have probably seen these guys in England where they find big deals and stuff. It's neat to see them when they put them all, kind of see them in their group. So that was once I dropped them off at NGC, that was the last time I would see the coins, until the next time they were actually in holders. This photograph here is interesting from a numismatic standpoint. This is the silver, and I don't think there were any copper coins. It was all silver of different denominations. They did a little bit of conservation, but of course, silver, unfortunately, does not preserve like gold does. Gold is much better preserved, and it'll stay pristine. And the silver coins are kind of corroded. Interestingly enough, so this was obviously buried in 1863. There was a 1798, I think it was a one something, I can't remember what a very small silver Spanish coin that was in it. So that Spanish coin was actually circulating in 1863. There were 2 or 3 foreign coins, but one of them was dated as far as back as 1798. So I thought that was numismatically a very interesting story of it. The finder of the coins kept all the silver coins because they're worth much, much less than the gold coins. And also the finder of the coins kept like 30 of the gold dollars, and he kept one of the 1863 20s. And that was a huge decision for him because that's keeping a $100,000 coin. His wife actually had to have a big consultation about it. We're going to really keep a $100,000 coin. And he said, honey, this ain't going to ever happen again. So I'm keeping one of them. So he still got it. I'm hoping he doesn't have his, I'm hoping he doesn't, hoping he's not like a lottery winner that, 3 years later he's going to say, I spent the $3 million, I need to sell it. So he seemed like a smart guy. So I think he'll do better than that. So he kept that and has them. So those coins, they were conserved, and we got. So then the next step is while NGC was doing the conservation and the grading, ultimately the next step is we did on June 13th of 23. So it's almost 2 years ago now when this all happened. NGC issued a press release. They say a cache of Civil War era coins unearthed in the Bluegrass State, including the finest known 1863 double eagles, as well as several other interesting coins and errors. And it goes on. You can read about it, but it's they talk about during the Civil War, the state of Kentucky, even though it was neutral, played as one of the border states. There were a lot of raids that were happening. You guys have heard of Morgan's Raiders? Maybe they were coming in, and they were basically in this general area. I only know the general area. I didn't want to know the exact location, so I didn't also making a mistake. But it was these the people would come in and they would like burn down a bank or burn down the town or the courthouse and all that stuff. So as maybe a lot of you guys know, in the 19th century, if your money was in a bank and the bank got robbed or burned down, there was no FDIC insurance. You just were out the money. So the fact that people buried things were not that surprising. Money being buried goes back to antiquity. I know for sure the very first gold coins ever made were, coins in like 600 BC, and I bought hoards of them that were discovered after they were buried. So it from day one, coins have been buried and found centuries later. So it's luckily this didn't have to wait around 2,000 years to be found. So that was the good news on that one. So there was you asked about what was in the container. So one of the coins he kept, there was an 1862 double eagle that not super valuable, but it had a really clear imprint of a canvas bag on it, and he kept that. And we didn't conserve that coin. We left it unconserved as a kind of a relic of the treasure. So that coin it's really clearly they were in a sack and they were buried in not too deeply, 2 or 3 feet down. So not real far down. The total face value on the hoard was $1,200. So $1,200. So I should have known this before. So $1,200 in gold would at the time with gold, it's about 60 ounces of gold. So 60 ounces, what's 60 times 3,000 now? Today's dollars, was that 1.8 million, something like that? So almost $2 million in today's dollars. So that's a lot of money, that someone obviously buried and never came back for. So you can only think it's that person obviously got killed before he came back, because no one's leaving $1,200 in the ground anywhere around that. So whether he got killed in a conflict in the Civil War, or maybe they buried it and went off to fight and never came back, that's a possibility. It could have been a merchant or someone also guessed that it could have been maybe one of the banks got robbed and that was the gold that got buried after the robbery. So that's a possibility. So a lot of possibilities that it could be, but nothing that's known. So I'm trying to think what else was maybe the next one here. Okay, so this talks about, it mentions myself, and then eventually the company I sold it to was government in Minnesota, who specializes in treasure coins and things like that. So I sold the deal to them intact. So I'll talk about that a little bit. And this is an interesting thing that was important, really big deal, is the 18 coins were more valuable than the other 800 coins. So that's an interesting. So selling the 800 inexpensive gold coins was easy. I mean, tons of people would buy those, but I made the deal contingent. The deal was as a deal, all the coins, all or none, because an 1863 double eagle, and I think previously one known. Now there's 18 known in mint condition. 3 of the coins graded MS64, which is like off the charts condition. They're like 7 or 8 in MS63, which is unbelievable before. And so how do you price a coin that used to be $200,000 and now there's 18 of them? So that gets to be a much more complicated, a thing, and also how you do it. So on the pros and cons side of it, the pro side is these are unbelievable and it has an unbelievably cool story and people are going to want to own these. On the negative side of it, there's a coin that, was worth a lot of money because they were rare. All of a sudden now they're not rare. So it's kind of like an extreme example of that was 1857 S20s. There were almost none mint condition. And today, because of SS Central America, there are probably, I think, 20,000 of them. So it's that's a big extreme. And that coin would have been 500,000. Now you can buy one for 7,000. So that it clearly has an impact on price. So when I priced the collection, I kind of kept it neutral. It was kind of like, okay, you get the opportunity to sell all 800 coins. You're going to make money on that, but you have to buy all 18 of these coins. And I'm not going to lower the price on it just because there's a lot of them, because the story makes up for it. So that's kind of how it came to it. Took a little negotiating back and forth, and ended up selling the collection, the Hoard, for about $2.5 to $3 million. So I don't even remember what it was from 2 years ago. So that was, the next step is, before we sold them, I had to go down to NGC, and there I had to. So this is like for me, the day I mentioned a couple of times, and this deal always had different steps of the big reveal, another reveal, a reveal. So when I went down here this trip, actually, I got to find out what was in the Hoard, like what dates were in it. I'm fantasizing. I wish there were, 100 Dahlonega gold coins. Unfortunately, there was one. So it was mostly common date type 3 gold dollars. I'm going to pass this around for everyone. This is a detailed list with the conditions of every coin that was found in it. So I'll pass this around. You guys might find it interesting. I haven't really shared that until just recently. But there was an 1855 C gold dollar in AU 53, an 1855 O, an AU 55, an 1856 D gold dollar, an AU 55, an 1857 S gold dollar, and an 1857 C gold dollar. So that was the total of branch mint gold. There, out of 800 and something coins, there were only 4 branch mint gold coins. So interestingly, you kind of think it must have been more of a, they didn't just come riding up from the south with the coins. They probably came from more of the northern thing. To me, numismatically, it's interesting. There were 1862s and no 1863s. There were 1862s double eagles. So it's interesting. So it's kind of, to me, it's kind of neat that these things were made in California. They made their way all the way to Kentucky by 1863, which when the Hoard was buried. So those coins made a big trip. So we can pass this around the other side if anyone wants to look at it. But that's the detailed list of the coins. So that when I was there, it was kind of fun to sort them out, and it was a big sorting job because about a third of the coins were what they call excavation recovery. They had like cleaning or like, bag marks or plow marks or whatever you want to call it. So they weren't all just like really great condition. And a lot of the coins had real honest wear on them. There was 1851 gold dollars that were like XF, things that had clearly been in circulation for a while. And, they weren't all like mint condition. So I was doing, I was sitting there setting them up in stacks. This is probably the 1861s, big, giant group of them, 40 or 50 of them, and trying to actually, this Excel spreadsheet that I'm showing there, that was my next step. I had to know what it was that was there to do. So once I did that job, then I went home, and then I started doing the whole grind about like, okay, what do you price them at? What's the value of this and that, and how do you take in the value of the excavation recovery coins and the whole process. So the pricing of it was quite a bit of work. This picture shows you what I said about excavation recovery. So some of these have been like hit with a plow probably over time. It's got big bag marks, big scrapes there. It's all yucky, and it's still mint condition, but it's been, it shows us damage. And on the other extreme is that. And there's one that's like the mint bloom. The coin, it was just like it was just made. Just absolutely stunningly beautiful. And there were 3 of them in that condition. They're just like they were, I think they undergraded them. I think they were really wearing MS65 because they were just, stunningly. They were as fresh and beautiful as you could hope for. So it's really, really pretty. So those were the highlights of the collection. Those 3 coins were the highlight. I sold one to Mark Salzberg, who pressured me to make one exception. I sold the whole deal as a deal, except, and kind of like a negotiation of like, I'm going to do all these great things for you to promote the Hoard and whatever. He wanted to buy one of the coins. So I sold him one of the coins it was around $300,000 or so for the best coin. He got the first pick. So he's, I'm sure that's been a perk for decades owning NGCs to get some of the coolest coins that came through the door. So he still has, I think, that coin. So that's that one's still there. There were also, they did some research. There were some coins that were like double. There was one that was a double die obverse. It was unknown. It was kind of real neat the way it was double struck. They kind of did a deep dive on that and found they were looking for anything they could basically monetize to get more money for the coins for the client. And also you can see the label I did. It's got a little cannon up here. It's got a little pile of gold coins down there. So I didn't do it. NGC did that. So they put that together, which I thought was very, very nice. So it was all coming together. It really went very, very smoothly. And but once the press release went out, then all of a sudden, it just went. So the next slide, the story went viral, and you guys hear that term a lot. It's like it's like us doing a YouTuber, and the story went viral. Well, this really did go viral. It was like I was getting phone calls from all corners of the globe. I had Australia. I did an interview with Australia radio station. There was Italy. There were people from all over the world were calling up wanting to know information. One of the funniest ones was the National Enquirer called me up, and they wanted to do a story and wanted me to introduce them to the guy who found them. And I said, well, no, I can't do that. And then it actually became like creepy, like it became aggressive. It's like, our job is to find out things like that. And, I'm like, tell my wife, we need to lock the dumpster. And it's like, it was like really scary. It was really aggressive, really, really, really bizarre. Yeah, I know. So it's funny. So we had, the New York Times here said, this is the most insane thing ever. The man who said, so the little video you actually went viral. They cleaned it up a little bit. Somehow it got out there, to seeing it. So that really created the story and kind of kept making it go. And so we, once we had the story, so then that kind of brought up again the legal issue. So because I got people calling up, it's like, who is it? Where was it found? I had people call up and say, hey, my great grandfather said the family gold was buried in wherever. And I said, well, where was it? Where did they live? And I would say, well, that wasn't where it was. So it was like, so luckily we defended it pretty, successfully. Had nobody come out of the woodwork that was kind of like caused trouble. Made me really nervous because I hated being involved with a multi-million-dollar deal that someone, because even if someone's not right, they can still cause you a lot of trouble and, legal issues and stuff like that. So we were able to get the deal transacted. The client got paid. The client said that his wife didn't have to work anymore. They have 3 kids. He was like super happy. And now occasionally coins. So a lot of people ask me, can I buy one? So everybody wants to buy one when they hear the story, how cool it is. I said, well, no, they all got sold, but now they actually show up now. And I bought 2 now off of eBay over the last year or so. I see one at a coin show. I originally had 8 coins, and every time I see one now, I buy it. And the gold dollar usually if you see them on the secondary market, a not high grade one will sell for about $600 to $1,000 in that ballpark. So you can't acquire them. So just keep your eyes out. And what to me will be really, really interesting, and it hasn't happened yet, is when Heritage auctions one of the 1863 20s. So it'll be really fun to see like what the resale value, what the market, because that'll be when the market speaks about the value. I force fed the market because that was the price. You couldn't have any less. It'll be interesting to see. I hope it doesn't bring $1 million because it'll make my client mad at me. But so we'll see what it does. Yeah, I know you do. I know you do. I know you do. I'm talking about this Heritage stuff with Mark Borkhardt is sitting in the back room, by the way. And but it will really be interesting to see what one of them sells for when it re-enters the secondary market, because I'm curious as a gold expert. How do you how will that be interpreted? So we'll see. It'll be fun to see how it goes. And I give interviews sometimes with people. I talk about things, and I did have these on Pawn Stars. So if you haven't seen it, if you want to see it, YouTube, it's kind of cute. We did an episode of Pawn Stars because the Pawn Stars thing is really fun because it just gets the story of numismatics out to a bigger crowd. I kid people like I've worked my whole life doing coins and trying to really work hard and do good for the hobby. But when I go to coin shows, most people say, I saw you on Pawn Stars. So it's funny how your baser achievements sometimes are most appreciated. So, but it's as I started in the beginning, as going through those emails, I still can't wait to go to work every day. You never know what that next phone call is going to be about, and that's why I love the hobby, love what I do, because every day is a different discovery, and it'll probably be hard to top of this one, but I think it's possible. So we keep answering those emails and phone calls, and we'll see what all happens. But I hope you guys appreciate that. It's one of the greatest things, fun, the neatest things in my career I've had the fun of being involved in, and it's always fun to share the story with people to hear more about it. So I guess I'll answer some questions. So you can't ask me where he found it. So
I don't actually know how your business. So how do you get rid of 800 coins? Did you auction some?
No, I sold the deal intact to a company called GovMint, which is in Minnesota. They have like a marketing, they sell like catalog and marketing and things, and they have like a million customers in their database. So they sold out in 2 days. So the deal sold out in 2 days. So
they didn't like group them together and said.
Well, they did a little bit. Like they had some things like, if you wanted like 3 different dates from the deal, they did some of that.
Wow.
So, but the 800 coins sold in 2 days. So they're gone, and they boom, they were out of there. Now, my biggest regret I have is that I didn't keep like 20 coins for like friends that I had to disappoint. They said, hey, I live in Kentucky. Where's mine? So that was a little bit of a I misplayed my hand on that one.
I'm going to have you step over here so I can use the computer.
Okay.
Thank you.
You mentioned several times it was buried in 1963.
1863.
I'm sorry, how do you know that?
Because the last dated coin was 1863. Nothing past 1863. And the 1863 coins were in pristine condition. So, I mean, not for sure, but logic would tell you it was buried in 1863. Nothing after that date. Any other question?
When the gentleman first brought them in, did he have them in envelope slips or?
That's a good question. He had them all in plastic 2x2 flips. And they were dirty. It was funny, very dirty.
So several times you mentioned that a large portion of it was excavation recovery designation.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, everybody knows.
About 20%.
Ship recovery designation.
Yep.
Is there any general rule regarding the designations like that? Do they make coins more valuable, less valuable?
Oh, less valuable for sure. I
Less
mean,
valuable.
yeah, collectors would much rather have one that's like pristine condition and nice. You know, if put it this way, if one of these gold dollars looked like that and it was not in the hoard, it'd be worth, you know, not much over melt. It'd be worth $250 if that. And because it's from this hoard, it's worth $750. So its pedigree exponentially makes the inexpensive coins more valuable. So, but in general, collectors would much rather have a pedigree coin in the best condition possible. But it's just, you know, it's just that, you know, these weren't all, you know, we're really where the whole coin community is lucky that he had the foresight not to take him back in his sink with toothpaste and clean every coin. So they were lucky that could have easily have happened, you know. It's so, you know, he left the coins dirty. He let the professionals do it correctly in the results. And the really great thing is there were gold coins, and gold coins, you know, are you know, stay perfect. So that was good.
I know.
Yes.
So there weren't any, the man who found the coins, it was on his own property then?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
he owned the property, therefore he.
Well, that's, you see, you're going into stuff that I can't even talk about. That's why I had lawyers for all that stuff. So
So that was good that he was able to.
the laws in Kentucky are, if you get finders keepers, you get to keep it on your own land and all that. So that was established pretty quickly.
That's great.
Okay, we do have some questions online that I want to be sure that we work in as well. So let's get
Okay.
one of those.
Did CAC certify any of the coins? And if not, why not?
CAC did not certify any coins, and probably why not? I didn't send any to CAC. So now since then, I have no idea. So
Okay, let's.
I would, and to be fair, and to be fair to CAC, I don't think they would want to certify them because, you know, they're into originality and stuff. So these coins are all clearly been conserved and cleaned and all that stuff. So I don't think it really was. I mean, if I thought it was in my best interest, I would have done that, but I didn't think that was really what they would appropriate. So
See, there are a lot of cornfields around Chicago.
a lot of what?
A lot of cornfields around Chicago.
Yeah.
So what should they do before calling you?
Well, I can tell you metal detector sales went up a lot in the last 6 months. I mean, seriously, metal detector sales have gone up a lot since this was found. So no question.
How do I deal with it?
Well, I think this is like lightning strike. So I think your time would be better off doing something else, but you never know. You know, it falls under, you never know.
Yeah, people buy lotteries.
Right. Well, you know, but there is a little bit of logic. And also I should mention, it's interesting. So I did almost no media for almost a year, but I have a really good friend of mine who works at KET TV, and KET Kentucky Education Television in Kentucky did about an hour special about this Kentucky Gold Hoard, interviewed me, you know, lots of people, NGC, also interviewed metal detector community, talked to them, talked to Civil War historical societies, and they have some interesting things to say about that. It said, you know, if you know of a homestead that was around at a certain time, you know, find out where the homestead was and then look around the area. And I mean, if a window was there, it's probably the guy could keep an eye on his gold and stuff like that. So that whole community has their tips and trades, and that's a whole thing. But that, if you want to do a little bit more, hear about the story, the KET special was really, really, really good. Very, very good. You could probably see it on YouTube or something like that. It's a very good thing.
Okay, let's hit another online question and then we'll come back to the room.
Any project in the works to write a book about this treasure?
Yeah, no, probably not. I think I'm just going to do my little speaking tour. You know, my wife is always my wife even tells me now, not even this deal, but I should write a book about all the neat things that I've had in my career. So it probably won't have its own standalone book, but it might have a fantastic chapter someday.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure you were intrigued when they came in.
Oh yeah.
The perfect storm of like, not only did he bring all this material to you.
Mm-hmm. What's the question?
He didn't, like, the whole idea that he didn't bring him in clean, right? Like,
Yeah.
what was his like?
Well, he was I think he realized he wasn't supposed to clean them.
Okay.
And they only brought a smaller group of coins in because he could have come in and I could have been like, you know, shyster type, and he didn't want to deal with me. So he was only revealing in steps as he felt comfortable, knowing he was in the right place to handle what he was trying to do. So it was kind of like we were both playing a game with each other. I was trying to get the coins and he was trying to make sure that I was the right guy to get them. So,
I guess I'm just hopeful. I mean, it's
yeah,
really great that if somebody that isn't in the hobby
yeah,
probably took the 10 minutes to look Let's see, what should I do with coins I found buried in the dirt?
Yeah.
Definitely
He
should-
told me he went,
should clean up
he
that.
told me he did something. He put something on a Facebook group, says, "Hey, what do you do with the rare coins if you got questions in Kentucky?" And someone on Facebook group said, "Hey, call Jeff Garrett. He's actually lives in our state." So it was, you really can't make up stories like this. And it's like, how can something found in Kentucky? My only big giant bullet I dodge is John Kern lives in Lexington, Kentucky, and he would have been a pretty logical guy to have called as well. So luckily he didn't get it and I did. So my luck, I guess. Well, I work hard. I work hard. My luck is, I think, earned. I've put a lot of effort out there to be the expert, to be the guy to call and try to be there when someone needs help. And this guy, I'm sure, would give a good testimony that I did a good job for him. So that's it. We try real hard.
Okay, let's hit another one online.
Yeah, question asks, have you released a complete inventory of the hoard, or can you?
Yes.
That spreadsheet?
It's right there. Yeah. If anybody wants it too, if you want to email me, I'd be happy to send that to you for research, because it is really fascinating research, like the condition and the different mint marks and it's a pretty interesting little list. I think anybody that's a student of gold would find that list pretty interesting. But I'd be happy to email it to you and share it with you.
And if anyone doesn't have his email that's online, if you go to the symposium website and contact us, you can send it in the form there and we'll put you in touch and get it taken care of. So that's another way to get it.
Okay. Anybody other questions?
One more online. I don't know if you can answer this, but it says, were they found by a metal detector?
No, I really can't say anything about it. So a metal detector was used, I think, but I think it was after the first glint of gold. So it's kind of like.
And then one related question: this Hoard site, was it in continuous use as agricultural property for a long time?
I have no idea. I've never even asked that question. It's a good question. I've never asked. So I do not know that. So probably, because Kentucky's got a lot of cornfields. So it's probably.
Mm-hmm.
It is funny. It literally was a cornfield though. So just for fun, if you want, we'll go back and. Does this go back?
Here, give me a second. There we go. Now it'll go back.
If anybody came in late, just for fun, I want to. Was this I played the video? There's the video. That's the video again, when he found it with his iPhone, digging him out of the dirt.
So Jeff, the rest of the canvas bag just deteriorated?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was just a trace of it on one of the coins.
Okay.
Just a trace. But it's just, that's to me, still it gives me goosebumps to watch it. So. It's a great story. There's a $100,000 coin. Here you go. It's pretty wild. So, well, I hope everybody enjoyed it. And anybody wants to know more about it, I'm happy to share. I'll stay around for a few more minutes and let you actually see some of the coins. If you want to hold or see the coins or take a picture of them, I'll stay here for it.
Yep, they're all here's a copy. And just a reminder, all of these presentations are being recorded. The recordings will be released in about 2 weeks. If you would like to be emailed when those are up, you can sign up on the piece of paper back by the cups and mark Borchardt, or you can sign up on the symposium website. There's a place on the homepage as well. Our next presentation here in the same room will be Douglas Mudd at 3 o'clock, talking about the Silk Road's Money in Motion. So hope you're all able to come back from that one. And thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. You guys like it.